Good evening, everyone. Welcome back to our LVRC second session, जिसमें हम पढ़ेंगे. We are going to study chapter number 3. I welcome you all. Again, like last time, we are going to completely and thoroughly revise the chapter, revising a lot of concepts, Q&A style, how to approach the question, how to approach an answer, some tips and tricks along the way. So let's get started. I'll share my screen. Meanwhile, please sit down and take the class. लेट के पढ़ना नहीं है. बैठिए आराम से. Sit down properly. Keep your book, notebook, pen, water bottle, everything in your hand. And पूरा ध्यान से, पूरी शिद्दत से हम अगले 2.5 घंटा पढ़ेंगे. We'll concentrate for next 2.5 hours. Okay, let's get started. Good evening, Mehak. Good evening, Aishal. Let's get started. Screen jaldi se, just let me know everyone properly. It's visible to all of you. And we can get started. Yes, ma'am. Yes, okay. Thank you, Anusuya. Thank you, Mehak, Lalita. Very good, very interactive class today. I'm glad to see since the start. We have to maintain this for next 2.5 hours. So let's talk about our chapter today, chapter number 3. But I hope that you have revised chapter number 1 and 2 at home. Can anyone tell me what is the revision rule I told you last time? कैसे रिवाइज करना है ताकि आपको याद रहे, दिमाग में बैठ जाए, so that you can write down in exam, so that it retains. Very good, Mehak. 13727. Those of you who are joining for this class revision, I'll just give a quick thing that we are going to follow this rule for our revision. Basic है, ऐसा कोई बहुत बड़ा complicated चीज नहीं है. It's very simple. That we are going to do spaced repetition, which means whatever you study today, study it after 3 days, then after 7 days, then on the 21st day. So this will ensure that whatever you have studied retains in your head and it starts getting, long-term memory create होने लगती है. So धीरे धीरे it starts transferring from your short-term memory to long-term memory. So we have to follow this rule 13721. So from the last class, 3 days have gotten over. So अभी तक chapter 1 and 2 का at least 2 times revision हो जाना चाहिए. Next day and 3 days. So I hope you are following this. If you follow this, you will solve the problem कि याद नहीं रहता or you don't remember. Okay, so we'll try to solve that. So let's get started with our chapter number 3, risk assessment and internal control. Risk assessment and internal control. Chapter 2 and chapter. I'll just note down your doubt and I'll discuss with the team and let you know, okay? I'll just note down your doubt. Just give me 1 second, please. Some notes upload issue, na? I'll just take a note of this point and I've taken the note. I'll address this by the next class, okay? Yeah, I understood. Are you talking about LVC class, LVRC class? Because chapter number 4 तो अभी हुआ ही नहीं है. You're talking about LVC classes, okay? I'll discuss with the team and let you know, okay? All right, let's get started now. Risk assessment and internal control. First, before we start, can anyone tell me what is the essay number for, or what is the name for essay number 315? What is the name for essay number 315? Write down in the comment section. I'll give you 10 seconds. Because this name is very important. It will be used in a lot of Yes, Gayatri, correct. Half part you guys have written. Write down the second part of the name also. Then I'll discuss. Anusuya, you're also correct. First half is correct. Very good, Aishal. Okay. Gayatri, Anusuya, Aishal, Mehak, very good. All of you correct. So how do I remember it? इसको याद कैसे रखना है? 315, how do we remember? We are going to identify and assess. Why identify and assess? We don't have to just find, we have to also analyze. Okay, so identify and assess. What? Risk of material misstatement. So what are we identifying and assessing? Risk of material misstatement. Now, how are we doing this? Through understanding the entity and its environment. Why not just entity? Why do we have to study the environment also? Why? So entity हो सकता है, it's manufacturing EV vehicles, EV cars. Then why do I just not just have to study the entity? Can I just study the factory but not know what are the current government policies regarding EV subsidies? What is the current economics of this kind of business? What are the current import and export policies? What are the taxation policies? Can I just understand the entity and know the risks? If I don't know that maybe the batteries have this kind of problem, so usually these are the risks in a company. Can I do that? Can I assess the risk? No. So we understand the entity which is doing some activity and we understand the environment. And by environment, we mean what are the various industrial factors? What are the various regulatory factors? What is the policies regarding this? What are their accounting policies? So there are a lot of things that are covered. So this is like a very, very holistic, very, very brilliantly written essay that covers something very, very important, something very basic for an auditor before you jump on checking vouchers. Vouchers check करना शुरू करें उससे पहले क्या क्या करना है before you start checking vouchers, what all you have to do, that it creates a base. And a good auditor, if you'll see in real life, the difference between a good auditor and an average auditor will always be someone who is very good at essay number 315. The difference between a good auditor and an average auditor will always be someone who does not just jump on checking vouchers, bills, balance sheet, P&L, but someone who's very, very good at understanding the risks of the entity, understanding the internal control, analyzing it. So this creates a very important theory base and very important practical base. So this is the chapter that we are going to study about. So chapter number 3. Ma'am, Aishal is asking, ma'am, whatever essay we study, are they complete? Yes, they are. So what I'll tell is that whatever you're studying in intermediate, there is no incomplete essay that you are studying. Just the difference is that it will have more sentences, more explanation, the raw essays. It's like when you study Companies Act, Aishal. So if you're studying section number 192, so it's not the same. In the book, the material is made from the point of view to make you understand better. So that is why it is different from raw act. But it is not incomplete. So whatever essays you are studying, it is complete in its own way. Clear? I hope it solves your question, Aishal. Okay, let's go to question number 1. As usual, just remember that questions can be of 3 different types, mainly. Okay, this is not some law or rule, but in general, you can understand the questions from 3 different types. One can be direct, one can be indirect, means it looks like case study, but it's a direct answer. Third is a little bit case study, where you have to do a little bit of writing skills. You have to connect different things and create an answer. So these are the three typical style of questions that can come. Very good, Mehak. I'm so happy to see all of you remembering everything. Now, question number 1, let's start. Significant risks often relate to significant non-routine transactions or judgment matters. Non-routine transactions are transactions that are unusual due to either size or nature, therefore occur infrequently. Judgmental matters may include the development of accounting estimates for which there is significant uncertainty of measurement. In this context of significant risk, explain the factors to be considered by the auditor in exercising judgment as to which risk are significant risk. Quickly, students, tell me immediately, which kind of question do you think it is? Direct, indirect, drafted. Direct, indirect, drafted. Quickly, just try to think. It is a direct question. Why? This is a generic information given to you, but basically it's a very, very straightforward question from the book. So if you have studied book, if you have done revision, this is like question answer, straightforward. Okay, like you have practiced in childhood and schools also. Question is there, answer is there in the chapter. So factors to be considered by auditor and exercises judgment. Chalo, we have identified this is a direct question. Now let's decide, let's try to understand सोचना कैसे है, आंसर तक कैसे पहुंचे, how to make the answer click in my head. Okay, what is the point? Explain factors to be considered by auditor in exercising judgment as to which risk are significant risk. Okay, let's say Mehak, you are audit assistant, ठीक है? You have been sent on an audit. So today Mehak is a CA in my class, okay? So Mehak is a CA today. So Mehak has gone as an audit assistant, auditor, okay? You have gone as a paid audit assistant to, you're working under a CA firm. Now Mehak, this is let's say a company that has a lot of hotel business. Okay? They have a chain of hotels in them. Now you have to help your juniors by giving them some points that how do they find the risks, okay? You tell them, you tell your junior, hey, if the company has for the first time implemented IFRS, will you consider it as a risk area? कंपनी में पहली बार IFRS लगाए, क्या उसको अच्छे से चेक करना पड़ेगा? कंपनी has applied, company has become applicable for IFRS for the first time. Will that be a risky area? Do you think company would have made some mistakes? There's a possibility that company's employees would have made mistakes. There's a possibility that company's interpretation of some things might be wrong. Yes. So this becomes a risk area. Then what if some transactions they are saying, okay, this is our company, some money we have sent to our joint venture company, then this joint venture company sent to our subsidiary company, but then subsidiary company sent to one associate company, but then it came back to us. This kind of complex transactions are happening. Do you think they have agar aise transaction dikhe, so does it show risk? Does it show risk? If the transactions are very complicated and they are with related parties. If Mehak sees, will Mehak guide her audit assistants that if you see any salaries or rent being paid to the relatives of the directors, will she guide the assistant that, hey, this might be a significant risk? Will you guide it? Yes. So related parties transactions. So how do we think the answer? If you remember just one point now, you will remember the whole flow. So just remember what factors to be considered by auditor in exercising judgment as to which risk are significant risk. कई बार हिंदी में या आपकी जो भी नेटिव लैंग्वेज है, यू कैन ट्रांसलेट इट. ओ, जजमेंट लगाना है कि कौन सा रिस्क बड़ा रिस्क है. ओ, आई हैव टू पुट जजमेंट विच रिस्क इज बिग रिस्क. ओ, इफ द रिस्क इज related to some new development, some related party transaction, if you create this link, you can write the answer. So let's see. बहुत ही easy answer, very very easy answer. And if you write this answer, you'll get full marks. Properly लिखोगे, आराम से marks आएंगे. As a part of risk assessment, the auditor shall exercise whether any of the risk identified are, in auditor's judgment, a significant risk. Do you remember one tip I gave you for direct question? Writing tip I gave you. Can anyone tell me with respect to this? Can anyone tell me what tip I am talking about? If there's a direct question and it has lot of points, what did I tell you? How to write the answer? How to start the answer? No. Mehak is a little close. No, Pooja, not this point. So, anyone else would like to try which point I'm talking about? Which trick I gave you? This is not a trick, it's a tip. Okay. No. So, what I told you, whenever there is a direct answer which has straightforward points, you always need to give an introduction starting paragraph. Never directly start with the points. कुछ 2-3 लाइन ऊपर लिखो. You can give either essay if essay is there. You can write from the question that what answer is about. But you have to give some lines and not just write the points. This, please follow this tip. It makes your answer more professional. Okay. So what have they used? They have used these points. ऊपर का ही आप points they have taken. So as a part of the risk assessment, the auditor shall determine whether any of the risk identified in auditor's judgment is a significant risk. Passive. Okay. This point is written here. You are creating a momentum before the point start. In exercising judgment as to which risk are significant risk, the auditor shall consider at least. Of course, if you want to give, you can give SE 315 reference also. Not a problem. SE 315 reference de sakte. So these points we have discussed. What are the significant risks? Whether risk is a risk of fraud, risk is related to recent economic, accounting, other developments like changes in regulatory environment requiring specific attention. So do you remember 2018 when GST came, right or wrong? So that time when people had to suddenly change from maybe VAT and service tax to GST, do you think that time auditors would have counted GST as a significant risk? What do you think? Count hua hoga? When the Companies Act changed from Companies Act 1956 to Companies Act 2013, that time also it would have been a significant risk area. Why? Because all the compliance transactions are changing, all the penalties are changing, forms are changing. Hai na? So that is called as change in some economic, accounting or other regulatory environment being changed. Then ऐसे याद रखना है, ठीक है? So some accounting change happened or legal change happened. What happened because of that? Things became a little complex. Things became a little complex, so you went to your relatives for help. Okay? So things became complex, you went to your relatives for help. But related parties gave you some subjective advices. They gave you some subjective, they didn't give you clear advice. Because of that, risk happened in your normal course of business and because of which fraud risks happened. So इस तरीके से, this is my story. This is how I used to remember and how I have tried. So if you create some stories also, that's also okay. If you can remember without stories, perfect. Please do whatever helps you. Okay. So कैसे याद रहेगा? So risk identified as significant risk, how? Okay, कुछ नया law आया, some regulatory points. Okay, because of law, things became complex. Okay, complex transactions. When became complected, I went to related parties. So transactions with related parties. But the related parties gave me advice which was related to subjectivity. So subjectivity estimates, accounting estimates, because of which risk during normal course of business became heavier and fraud risk appeared. Can you remember, students? याद रहेगा सबको? So complexity, risk involving significant transactions with related parties, degree of subjectivity in measurement of financial transaction related to risk, especially those with measurement of uncertainty, something like gratuity and all. And whether the risk involves significant transactions outside the normal course of business for entity and anything that appears to be unusual. So, for example, your company is actually a ghee selling company. Suppose your company is ghee selling company, but suddenly you are seeing sales of packaging material. Are we a packaging material selling company? हम घी बेचते हैं एक डब्बे के अंदर, but कुछ डब्बे की sales है. So we sell ghee in a dabba, but we are selling the dabbas itself. So this is an unusual business, unusual type of business. So why did we do that? If we are not in the business of selling packaging material, why the company has sold packaging material? So that is called as transactions that are outside the normal course of business. Sumedh is saying, ma'am, can you please explain point number 5? Of course, Sumedh, of course. What does it mean? The degree of subjectivity in the measurement of financial information related to risk, especially those measurements involving a wide range of measurement uncertainty. So let's say, Sumedh, that you are running a company in which you pay gratuity to your employees or ESOP. In these kind of transactions, you have not studied essay number 540 in intermediate. You will study that in CA final. 540 will teach you what is audit of accounting estimates. तब आप detail में पढ़ोगे. I'll just give you a brief introduction. So what it says that when you are auditing something that does not have a clear bill voucher, जिसको देखकर you can just simply check. So if you're purchasing a furniture, there is no uncertainty, which means if the furniture bill is 1 lakh, the entry will be 1 lakh rupees. But there are certain transactions like bad and doubtful debts, provision for bad and doubtful debts, but specifically things like employee welfare schemes of gratuity, pension, that requires some estimation, which means how many years the employee has worked with you, how much do you want to keep the gratuity payment for each year, or then at what age did this person join you? Okay, so all these points are all create a uncertainty that how do you measure it. So जहां पे भी estimation based accounting है, okay, Sumedh, wherever there is an estimation, assumption based accounting calculation done, in those cases, the risk is automatically high and auditor has to pay more attention that how did the company arrive at the number. Okay. Not the transaction that has enormous uncertainty. The calculation has uncertainty. Is that clear, Sumedh? There is a lot of assumptions and subjectivity involved when you are calculating that amount. All right. So everyone is clear with the answer? Can I move to the next answer? Okay. Question number 2. Much of the information obtained by the auditor's inquiries is obtained from management and those responsible for financial reporting. However, the auditor may also obtain information or a different perspective in identifying risk of material misstatement through inquiries of others within the entity and other employees with different levels of authority. First, tell me, is it possible to talk to people other than management? Can we talk to people other than management? Okay. So up, Dheeraj, I'll ask you a question. Firstly, can auditor talk to anyone within the entity and outside the entity or only within the entity? पहले ये बताइए. Can auditor talk to anyone within the entity, outside the entity, or only within the entity related to entities transactions? What is our precondition for an audit? Where do we have the default right? बिना पूछे, बिना permission दिए, we can talk within the entity. Very good. Now, here the question is only about within the entity or outside the entity also. Which area are we focusing? Only within the entity other than management. है ना? So how do we approach this answer? पहले think about what all different people and departments can be there in an entity. Think about that way. So maybe there can be an internal audit department. Possible? There can be an internal audit department. Yes or no? There can be in-house legal department. जिनसे बात करेंगे, if we talk to them, we can get some good information. There will of course be normal sales, marketing, all this kind of departments. Yes or no? Very important, there might be one IT department in the company. Yes or no? Think about these departments. IT department, very good. Yes or no? So think about the departments first. If you do this, your half job is done. Now let's say I want to inquire with internal audit department. What information can I get from internal audit department? What information can I get from internal audit department? You can get information like what is your internal audit procedure? What is your opinion on company's internal control system? Do you think they are efficient? Do you think they are effective? Where have you found gaps in the internal audit department? If you have found gaps in internal control, what did you do about those gaps? So you know that as an auditor, I have to do test of control. सबको पता है ये चीज? As an auditor, we have to do test of control. Okay. But before I do test of control in a company, if there is an internal audit department, do you think I need to study their reports? Do you think I need to study the reports? Yes, madam, you have to study because you can get so much information. So what this answer is asking from you, first list down the people that you can talk to. Also write down what you can talk about. Now tell me which type of question is this. See your book. Open your book and tell me which question is this. It's direct, indirect, or drafted. Here students make a mistake. Open your books. I'll open with you. All three have given different answers. Sumedh is saying indirect, Pooja is saying direct, Mehak is saying drafted. Pooja, you have sent direct question. Why are you saying direct? Have you seen this somewhere in the book? Pooja? Have you seen this somewhere in the book? Yes. Where have you seen it? Tell everyone the page number. I think it's before only. Yeah, here it is. Can you see this answer, everyone? 3.14. Inquiries of management within the entity. So the correct answer is obviously Pooja's. That is why I asked her. Inquiries of management and others. So what is this question saying? I don't want to know about management. I want to know others. And here is the exact answer. And this is a question I have seen lot of students making mistake. They think that it is an indirect question or a question you have to do your own drafting. Is this a question you have to do your own drafting? No. The answer is as it is in the book. And this is where after you come out from exam, you will feel the most sadness because you will know, अरे book में exact था, पर मुझे connect नहीं हुआ कि इस question का ये answer है. It was there in the book, but I couldn't connect that in this question I have to write this answer. And that's the place that won't happen if you revise your book properly. So, simple answer. There all can be asked the inquiries to others within the entities, inquiries towards internal audit personnel, which provide information about internal audit procedure, design and effectiveness of entities control. Management has satisfactorily responded to those procedures. Management, आप सिर्फ ढूंढते रहते हैं, management respond भी करती है उसके लिए. So you keep finding the problems, or management takes you seriously or not. Inquiries to employees who are involved in initiating, processing, and recording some complex and unusual transactions so that you can know accounting policies. Then third, we can talk to in-house legal counsel that can provide information about matters like litigation, compliance, regulations, knowledge of any fraud or suspected fraud, some post-sale obligation, any arrangements like joint ventures, associate companies. All these things you can discuss with the in-house legal counsel. Then marketing and sales people, you can talk about why do we need to talk? We need to see what is the strategy. If you go to sales people and they tell you that this year management was very aggressive, management was really telling us that we have to crack our target numbers by hook and crook. So you know fraud risk is created अपने आप. Agar in the environment of the company there is an extreme pressure situation, then automatically it's a fraud risk factor. So that is why you need to talk to marketing and sales people so that you know entities, marketing strategies kya hai, sales trend kya hai, what is your arrangement with customers. Then you can talk to risk management team or anyone who's performing such roles. It is not necessary that in all companies you will find a risk assessment team, but you can definitely find people who are doing these tasks. So they can give you information about some risks that are there in the company. What does this mean? Don't take it as something very big. If I'm going to a manufacturing, even if I'm going to a simple, let's say, some chemical manufacturing unit, okay? And if I talk to the supervisor, he can tell that ये machine में तो ये risk है. In this machine, this risk is there. In this chemical, this risk is there. That is operational risks. Inquiries directed to information system personnel means IT team about system changes, system or control failures, all these points. So if you are able to connect, then there's nothing like it. So see, the answer is same. Can you see now? याद रहेगा? Okay. So thoda you have to make that effort to connect the question with the answer. Next. Question number 3. KLM Retail Limited is preparing its annual financial statements and the auditors are tasked with determining the materiality. Okay. The company has used revenue as the benchmark. Okay. However, KLM Retail has recently opened new stores and closed underperforming ones, which could significantly affect revenue and profitability. For the given case, what factors should an auditor consider when selecting the most appropriate benchmark for materiality? First question. Which essay question is this? Which essay? Very good, Mehak. Mehak is the first one to reply. Essay number 320, materiality. Correct, Pooja. Correct, Sumedh. Correct, Gayatri. All of you are correct. So yes, this is a Essay number 320 question. Now tell me which type of question is this? Because dimag, I want to make it your muscle memory. That question padte hi, dimag automatically type 1, type 2, type 3, direct, indirect, drafted. If it's direct, okay, I have to remember the book, I have to remember the page. How many of you, when writing your exam, you get this photo memory? Oh, this answer was on the right side, upar mein tha. It was on top. I remember मैंने उस पे pink highlight किया था. Have you observed that your mind creates photo memories? Have you seen that? That when you're writing exam, you suddenly have a picture in your mind. Instead of direct words, the first thing your mind remembers is a picture. That is why I tell you that make study material your main primary book and you color it as per your choice, which means you highlight it. Okay, I'll highlight this with blue pen. Alag-alag colors se karo. Different colors, post-it you put. Each page points you write down in short on a post-it and keep it for quick revision later on. Make it as colorful. Don't by default it should be black and white. Jaise aapke study material hai, it's perfect. You add colors to it so that you remember, oh, I remember I had put yellow color highlighter on it, yellow color post-it was there, because your mind remembers in it photos and pictures. Okay. Okay. So this is a direct question, which is like an indirect because case study jaisa diya hai, but it's actually directly from the book. Okay. So what factors we should consider before selecting the most appropriate benchmark? So tell me this, if I am a startup, will you consider profit a benchmark? As an auditor, if I am running a startup, will you consider profit as a benchmark? No. Why? Why? So, why? Because early years may, it's possible that the expenses are more than the revenue. So, profits is not the correct benchmark for a startup. So, what is this question asking? What factors you have to take into consideration when selecting the most appropriate benchmark? Okay, tell me, if it's an NGO, will you consider sales as a benchmark? Will you consider sales as a benchmark? No. Usually in NGOs, donation or the total expenses are considered as a benchmark. So let's see, इस तरीके से connect करना है. Everyone, this is how you have to connect the answer. Is that clear? Okay. So इस question को देखते ही आपको as soon as you see this question, NGO and startup याद आना चाहिए. You should remember immediately. Ma'am told this. Okay. So very simple answer. Determining materiality involves exercise of professional judgment. Plus you can of course write essay number 320. You can mention. Okay. A percentage is often applied to choose correct benchmark as a whole. Factors that may affect the identification of benchmark. Very straightforward 4 points are there. You can first see what is the main elements in a benchmark. Asset hai, liability, equity, revenue, expense. Just overall see the situation. Then out of these, there is the attention of the users. There is the attention. So in an NGO, there is the attention of users. There is the attention of users in the NGO. It is in what? Expenses. It is on expenses that पैसा खर्च कहाँ किया है आपने. So first see what are the elements. Then see out of these elements, there is it. Okay. Attention of the users. For example, users may focus on profit, revenue, or net assets when evaluating financial performance. Nature of the entity. Nature means what? Abhi I gave example, startup. So is it a very established company? Is it a very new company? Is it a very scientific oriented company? Is it a very manufacturing or a retail oriented company? What is the nature of the business they are doing? So nature means where it is at its life cycle. Is it a mature company? What kind of industry and environment it belongs to? How it is owned? Is it mostly a debt oriented, equity oriented? How is it financed? For example, if an entity is financed only by debt, then the users may have more emphasis on asset than on earnings. If it is a debt oriented, they don't care about the end profit. They care about how much cash flow and asset is there in the entity. Okay. Volatility. ये सब stable है कि नहीं, which means you can take materiality if there's a stable pattern. If the pattern is very, very different, then you can't take it as a benchmark. Okay. It should be stable. So this point is clear? Yes, Mehak. I highlighted this during the LBC also. Let's come to the next question. So इसको कैसे फ्लो में एक गाना जैसे बनाओ? किसी भी चीज को एक फ्लो बनाने के लिए, for to remember anything, create a way you say it. जैसे बचपन में ABC कैसे सिखाया था? A B C D E F G. Why? Because a tone was created. So how do I create tone? Okay. What factors? Which elements are there? In elements, which are the areas which attention of the users is there? And then what kind of entity is there? What is the nature? And whether volatility is there or not. Okay. Volatility meaning, ma'am. Okay, Gayatri is asking volatility. Instability or stability means movement. So if I tell it's highly volatile, means extremely unpredictable. Is that clear? You can also write unpredictable. High volatile means highly unpredictable. Low volatility means more stable. Yeah. Okay. Correct, Mehak. Next. When more persuasive audit evidence is needed regarding the effectiveness of a control, it may be appropriate to increase the extent of testing of control as well as degree of reliance on control. Discuss the matters that the auditor may consider in determining the extent of controls. First, tell me quickly, type 1, type 2, type 3. Jaldi, jaldi. More persuasive evidence is needed. Then you have to increase the testing. Discuss the matters that the auditor may. Very good. Everyone has said, I shall Pooja Gayatri. Yes, it's a very, very direct question. But थोड़ा सा ये extra information दी है, but it's actually straightforward. It's there in the book. Okay. So the very straightforward point is, it is trying to ask you that when you need very, very persuasive evidence, of course, you have to check more controls. So what factors affect an auditor's decision कि कितना check करना है? How much do I have to check one control system? How do I know? So I'll give you one small example. Let me give you this thing that if I tell you that company newly added a control system for GST. Newly. They have changed a software recently. So do you think you have to check it more or check it less? You have to check it more or check it less. A new control has been added. You have to need more checking. Why? Because you don't have a lot of pattern and everything available. Now, again, let me give you another example. Suppose the company has purchased an ERP software that is a very, very good reputation in the market. Most of the people are using it. So what do you think? Can you rely? Do you think you will expect a lot of deviation? No. So if the expected rate of deviation is low because something is already very relevant and reliable, then my extent of checking will be less. Okay. Another point. Let's say that the company is doing password change for the users compulsorily once in 6 months. Do you think this internal control needs to be checked more or less? If I tell you that password change is done every 1 month, which control is more effective? If I tell you password change is only done once in 6 months and password change is done is once in 1 month, which frequency tells you that कम काम करेंगे तो चलेगा, ज्यादा डिटेल में चेक करने की जरूरत नहीं है. Once in 1 month. So if it's done very frequently, then you know that the system is more in, churning properly, system is working properly. But something is done very, very less automatically. And of course, I have to एक ही बार हुआ है साल में change. If it has been changed only once in a month, once in a year, then of course I have to do it properly. So think of these examples. So if you see the answer, matters that the auditor may consider in determining the extent of controls. How much controls I need to check? Frequency of the performance of control during the period. So if something has been done very infrequently, it has not been done as per schedule, which means you have to check it more. If something has been done very, very regularly, you have to check it less. So if frequency is high, I have to check less. If the frequency is less, I have to check more. Okay? The frequency is very high, I have to check less. If the frequency is very less, I have to check more. The length of time during the audit that the auditor is relying on the operating effectiveness of the control. So are you relying for the whole year? Let's say something new control only came on 15th March. Just 15 days before. So do I need to check it too much? No. But if I have to check something that was there since the start, then I might have to go through it properly. Expected rate of deviation. Tell me, if expected rate of deviation is high, will I check more or less? If the expected rate of deviation in control system is more, will I check more or will I check less? हम ज्यादा चेक करेंगे कि कम चेक करेंगे? जल्दी जल्दी, very easy question. Sumedh has replied, if the expected rate of deviation is very high, will we check more or will we check less? Sumedh has replied. Anyone else? अगर आपकी एक्सपेक्टेशन है कि बहुत ज्यादा डेविएशंस मिलेंगे कंट्रोल सिस्टम में, तो ज्यादा चेक करना पड़ेगा कि कम चेक करना पड़ेगा? More checking. Very good, Krish. Yes, so if expected rate of deviation in a control is more, I have to do more checking. If expected rate of deviation is less, I have to do less checking. Okay. The relevance and reliability of audit evidence to be obtained regarding operating effectiveness of control at assertion level. It means how important it is for me to check the control, how much it can affect my individual verification. It's a complicated. It means what? So let's say you are auditing a jewelry store. So it has stock, yes or no? It can have bullion, it can have coins, it can have jewelry. Now tell me, will the stock related internal control affect my financial statement stock value directly? Yes or no? Tell me. Assertion level, I want to check valuation of stock, existence of stock. You remember these assertions? Valuation, existence, cutoff, rights and obligations. Yes or no? So do you think the internal control effectiveness of stock is affecting directly the financial statement at assertion level? Yes or no? Yes. So will I check it more or less? Will I check it more or less? Now you understood? So it looks like a big complicated sentence, but it's simple. That if the relevance and reliability of audit evidence obtained regarding operating effectiveness of control is at assertion level, it is affecting something at assertion level, then of course I have to, so if it is more, I have to check more. Understood? And extent to which audit evidence is already obtained from test of other controls related to assertions. So if I have checked the stock already, stock related internal controls I have checked, then if I have checked other procedures already that has given me evidence, then can I reduce the other procedures? एक चीज को मैं ऑलरेडी उसका इंटरनल कंट्रोल चेक कर चुकी हूँ, उसके रिलेटेड इंटरनल कंट्रोल्स फिर मैं कम चेक कर सकती हूँ. यस, बिकॉज आई हैव ऑलरेडी गॉटन एविडेंस फ्रॉम द अदर प्रोसीजर्स परफॉर्म्ड, सो आई कैन रिड्यूस. So if the extent of audit evidence you have obtained from other controls is already very high, then you can reduce the verification of other related controls. So थोड़ा time लगेगा, but please do it properly. What is the question? Matters that the auditor may consider in determining the extent of test of controls. So if the frequency of performance is very high, less. If it's more, then very high, then less, and very less, then more. Length of time during the audit that auditor is relying. कितना duration वो control चला है that you are relying on it. Expected rate of deviation. More expected rate, then more controls you have to check. Less expected rate of deviation, कम check करना है. If the relevance and reliability of audit of evidence regarding operative effectiveness is relevant at the assertion level, then you have to check more. And if you have already found evidences through other checking, you can reduce checking for this. So if you have already checked a procedure very properly, then you have already gotten good evidence, then you don't have to check B procedure also in detail if they both are related. Understood, everyone? Sumedh is asking second point again. The length of time during the audit period that the auditor is relying on the operating effectiveness of the control, which means, are you looking at this control for the whole 12 months of operation? You looking at it only for the last 3 months? Is maybe it's a new control that has only become applicable in the last 3 months. So that also decides कि आपका काम का volume कितना बढ़ जाएगा. So if something has been in operation for the whole month, इसका एक example देती हूँ सुमित. One example I'll give you, okay? Sales related control full year रहेंगे, yes or no, Sumit? General sales, okay? But if company is in year, it has purchased only once, it has purchased machinery. They have purchased a new machinery only once in a year. So इसके controls कितनी बार activate हुए होंगे पूरे साल में? कितनी बार एक्टिवेट हुए होंगे इसके रिलेटेड कंट्रोल्स कि जब नई मशीनरी परचेज करेंगे तो ये रिजोल्यूशन पास होना चाहिए, ये बैंक में ये पर्सन सिग्नेचर करेगा, हम इतना लोन लेंगे, ये अप्रूव करेगा. ये कंट्रोल कितनी बार एक्टिवेट होगा पूरे साल में? एक ही बार मशीनरी परचेज हुई है, वंस ओनली, यस और नो? यस, ओके. So what it is trying to say is length of the time during the audit period that control you had to rely on. So as an auditor, I have to rely on the sales related internal control for the whole year, yes or no? Sales का तो control system में अगर गड़बड़ हुआ तो पूरे साल का sales बिगड़ जाएगा. अगर इसके रिलेटेड इंटरनल कंट्रोल में गड़बड़ हुआ तो क्या सब कुछ खराब हो जाएगा? नहीं. मे बी हियर एंड देयर प्रॉब्लम विल बी देयर, बट वो हर चीज को या पूरे साल को नहीं खराब कर देगा. आई एम टेलिंग इन हिंदी बिकॉज सुमेध हैज आस्क्ड दैट वे. सो just I'll repeat it same in English, that if something is wrong in sales related internal control, it can damage or it can create trouble for the whole year. But if there is some problem in the purchase of new machinery because it does not happen very, very regularly, Auditors' mindset towards the internal control of machinery will be very different than auditors' mindset towards the internal control of sales. That is what it is trying to say. The length of time during the audit period in which auditor has to rely on that control system. Is that clear now, Sumit? तो कोई चीज हर महीने हो रही है, कोई चीज हर दिन हो रही है, कोई चीज 6 महीने में एक बार हो रही है, तो उस चीज पे भी फर्क पड़ता है कि आप कितना चेकिंग करोगे. ओके, नेक्स्ट. So I've given a lot of time to this answer. We'll move on. Yes, Pooja, you want to ask something?
मैम, फ्रीक्वेंसी ऑफ परफॉर्मेंस ऑफ कंट्रोल बाय द एंटिटी ड्यूरिंग द पीरियड, ये आप कह रहे हो कि जितनी फ्रीक्वेंसी ज्यादा होगी उतना कम चेक करेंगे, लेकिन मैम जिसपे हम मतलब जो ज्यादा बार यूज होगा तो उसका मतलब चेकिंग भी ज्यादा एक्सटेंट तक होनी चाहिए. तो
ये
मतलब आपने
ट्रांजैक्शन की बात नहीं कर रहा है. देखो, दूसरे में मैं ट्रांजैक्शन की बात कर रही हूँ. पहला वाला क्या बोल रहा है कि वो कंट्रोल कितनी बार हो रहा है. सपोज पूजा, आपकी कंपनी में ये कंट्रोल सिस्टम है कि हम फायर ड्रिल का एक्टिविटी हर हफ्ते करेंगे. फायर ड्रिल एक कंट्रोल टाइप है. फायर ड्रिल करना समझ में आता है? फायर ड्रिल क्या होता है? मॉक फायर ड्रिल. हेलो,
यस मैम.
आप किसी कंपनी में काम करते हैं, तो थोड़ा बंद सी जगह में है, बंद सी गली में है, तो आपकी कंपनी का ये रूल है कि हम हर हफ्ते एम्प्लॉयज के साथ मॉक फायर ड्रिल करेंगे. तो वो एक फायर ड्रिल करना एक कंट्रोल सिस्टम है कि नहीं है?
यस मैम.
वो हर हफ्ते कर रहे हैं, तो बताओ आप ज्यादा चेक करोगे उससे कि वो कंट्रोल अच्छे से काम कर रहा है ना, क्योंकि वो इतने फ्रीक्वेंटली वो कंट्रोल सिस्टम को यूज किया जा रहा है. समझ में आई बात?
ओके ओके मैम, नाउ अंडरस्टूड. थैंक यू.
Everyone clear? Can I move on to the next one? Okay, next. Knowledge of client's business plays an important role in developing an audit plan. In fact, without the adequate knowledge of client's business, a proper audit is not possible. ऐसे 315 फिर पूरा नाम है. The auditor shall obtain an understanding of industry, regulatory, and other factors, including applicable financial reporting framework. Explain with examples. So ये examples आपको खुद लिखने हैं या बुक में दिए हैं? It is given. Okay. So do you have to write the whole answer of different factors? No, you have to explain this. There are 5 points in the book, but you have to specifically write industry, regulatory, and other factors that can affect the entity and its environment. So you have to give a few examples. Here, this small point that I told you, students can make mistake that they will write the factors, but the institute is clearly asking that you have to write examples of this factor, that is industry, regulatory, and other factors. So we'll quickly see this answer. Again, as usual, एक opening paragraph. Please follow this rule, okay? एक opening paragraph, essay is there. 1 or 2 small lines you can take from the question. So examples of matters that auditor can include is market, competition, entities engaged in any seasonal business or not, what kind of products they are making. So this can give to some very specific type of risk of material misstatement. So if you were auditing during COVID, you are auditing a travel company. Do you think being a travel company in COVID gave to some specific risk of material misstatement because of the nature of the business? Yes. Okay. If you're auditing an EV company right now, do you think आज का जो environment है, it is affecting the EV company positively? Yes. Okay. So understand, यहाँ पे just remember market plus products. ऐसे याद रखो please. Market and products मैं यहाँ पे लिख देती हूँ. I'll write here. Market and products information. Then second में just write legal. What is legal? Regulatory factors, including regulatory environment. It can have applicable financial reporting framework, legal environment, and political environment. Because laws are affected by the politics of the country. Is that clear? According to the political environment, new laws can come in. So that is why political word is written. So legal. Third is accounting. What information I'll obtain? पहले तो market and product, legal, then accounting. What in accounting? What are the accounting principles, industry specific practices, then what are the things that can affect the entity's operations? This is like a mixed form. Then other external factors like general economic conditions, interest rate, financing, inflation. So just write this as banking. Plus economics. Okay. So please remember this answer. If you try to mug up the whole thing, you might get confused. Just remember, industrial, regulatory, and other factors means I will know about market of the company and the products it can make. Regulatory means legal plus political. Okay. And other factors means accounting plus banking. Interest rate कैसा चल रहा है, all these things. Can you remember now? I have squeezed it down for you so that you can create some connection between question and answer. Next. Question number 6. CS Trishti, while auditing KSM Limited for the first time, utilized software to analyze first-time auditor financial data, comparing amounts with the current audit year and preceding 2 years. Her objective was to evaluate risk of material misstatement. Identify the type of audit or procedure performed by CS Trishti. Okay, first everyone quickly tell me. First time you're auditing, you are just going through the software to analyze data, comparing it with current year and last 2 years. You want to understand risk of material misstatement. What procedure is Srishti doing? No, wrong answer, Mehak. Very good, Sumedh. Garv is also correct. The procedure being performed is analytical procedure. And under analytical procedures, you are doing trend analysis. Okay. So, पहले तो ये चीज you have to identify correctly. So, identify the type of audit procedure performed by CS Srishti. Discuss its relevance. Explain whether auditor's opinion can solely rely on this. Now, you tell me which type of question is this. Type 1, type 2, type 3. अपने आप तुम्हारा अप्रोच इमीडिएटली क्लियर हो जाएगा आंसर लिखते टाइम एग्जाम में, अगर तुम आइडेंटिफाई कर लो तो. Actually, it's type 3. It's not because you have to make up the whole answer, but you have to connect 2, 3 different things and bring it together to make an answer. Mehak is correct. इसका कोई exact ऐसा टॉपिक नहीं दिया हुआ है that this is the relevance and auditor's opinion, write down this exact answer. There's no such thing. But in this topic, this is covered. So you have to find the right paragraphs, bring them together and create the answer. Is that clear? So answer is not problematic. You have to give, first you have to tell this is an analytical procedure. Then you have to give definition of analytical procedure, why it's important. And no, auditor cannot solely rely on that. You have to perform other procedures also. But how do you bring it and make it a nice, well-written answer? So, in the given case, CS Srishti is performing analytical. So, we have answered the first point. What type of procedure? This is first, in one line, you are making it clear. Analytical procedure performed in risk assessment may identify aspects of entity for which auditor was unaware and may assist in assessing risk of material misstatement in order to provide a basis for designing and implementing responses. Analytical procedure performed as risk assessment procedure may be both financial and non-financial information. Why is it again and again mentioning as risk assessment, as risk assessment? Because in question it's clear. Her objective was to use analytical procedure for risk assessment. Was she doing this procedure with the perspective of substantive procedure? वो एविडेंस ढूंढने के लिए एनालिसिस कर रही है कि रिस्क ढूंढने के लिए? Here I am touching a very important core topic of chapter number 3. Is Srishti doing this process to do substantive procedure or to conduct risk assessment? So, risk identify होने के बाद substantive होता है या पहले? The substantive procedures are done after risk identification or before? बाद में. Correct, Lalita? When Srishti is doing substantive procedure, can she again use analytical procedure to find evidence? Substantive करते टाइम भी वो analytical use कर सकती है वापस से? Yes. So, can analytical procedure be used both as risk assessment procedure and also as substantive procedure depending on the intention of the auditor? Can I use, if I'm doing audit in real life, I can use analytical procedure to find risks so that it tells me what evidence to find. And then when I'm finally trying to find evidence, can I again use analytical procedures? Yes. In this question, why in the answer they are again and again mentioning analytical procedure as risk assessment? Because analytical procedure can also be used as substantive. So there is a language in your book. Analytical procedures as risk assessment procedures and analytical procedures as substantive procedures. इसको कभी-कभी substantive analytical procedures भी बोलते हैं. It is sometimes called as substantive. Do you recall ऐसा कुछ था book में? Something like this was there in the book. So this question is of the first type. This should be clear like water, पानी की तरह साफ. Okay? It should be clear absolutely in your head. So let's come here. That is why they are again and again saying Srishti is performing analytical procedures as risk assessment procedures. Analytical procedure can be performed as risk assessment procedure to identify aspects of entity of which auditor was initially unaware, and this can help in assessing the risk of material misstatement to provide a basis for designing and implementing response to assessed risk. Analytical procedure performed as risk assessment procedure may include both financial and non-financial information. Analytical procedure can help to identify existence of unusual transactions, events, amounts, ratios, trends that may indicate matters with audit implications. Unusual or unexpected relationship can help the auditor in identifying risk of material misstatement, especially risk due to fraud. So, suppose I am doing risk assessment and I compare 2026 data with 2025 and 2024. And I see that here the net profit ratio was 10%, here it was 12%, here it's suddenly 30%. Will this help me in designing that how much work I'll do in this company? क्या ये information से मुझे कोई risk identify हुआ है जिससे मुझे audit को plan करने में मदद मिलेगी? Yes, because this is an unusual fluctuation, which means I'm already alert that, oh, I have to be careful while auditing this company. I have to do a good job. I have to do a detailed job. Okay. So this analytical procedure can help you find unusual transactions. Risk assessment procedures are a basis for identifying an assessment of risk at the financial statement and assertion level. Risk procedures by themselves do not provide sufficient appropriate audit evidence. Which procedure gives you evidence? रिस्क असेसमेंट प्रोसीजर से रिस्क पता चलते हैं. कौन से प्रोसीजर से एविडेंस मिलता है? Substantive procedure. Very good. Hence, the auditor's opinion cannot be solely based upon such procedure. Clear, everyone? थोड़ा ड्राफ्टिंग है कि नहीं? Now, do you all agree? This is a type 3 question. Now, does everyone agree? थोड़ा सा ड्राफ्टिंग, थोड़ा सा राइटिंग स्किल. All right. Next. SA 330 states that auditor shall design and perform test of control. Yeah. Obtain sufficient appropriate audit evidence as to operating effectiveness of relevant controls. Okay. All right. Briefly discuss when such tests are to be designed and performed in accordance with SA 330. This is a direct question or indirect? Open your book. पहले तो open करो. First tell me it's a direct question, indirect question. Quickly. Looks like indirect, looks like drafted, but it's actually a direct question from essay number 330. Mostly direct, but second little bit drafted. Very good, Mahek. So if you'll see, what is the question? Discussed when such tests are to be designed and performed, clearly given. An auditor intends to place greater reliance on effectiveness, states the effect on the evidence. Why may a high level of assurance be sought about the operating effectiveness? So we'll see one by one. What does it say? The auditor shall design and perform test of control to obtain sufficient appropriate audit evidence when the auditor's assessment of risk of material misstatement at assertion level includes an expectation that the control assertion level. This is given in your book only. What does it say? That when will you do test of control to obtain some evidence? We will do it because we have done already risk of material misstatement. You have seen that there is an expectation that you have to find whether the controls are operating effectively, which means auditor intends to rely on operating effectiveness. So let's say I'm auditor of a bank. Okay. If I'm auditor of a bank whose branch I am auditing of a nationalized PSU bank, there is a lot of 7 varieties of savings account they have. In that, they have, let's say, minimum balance charge. That if your balance goes below 1,000 rupees, in some it is 10,000 rupees, like that they have. So minimum balance charge is there. Is this a revenue for bank? Is this a revenue for bank? Yes. Let's say this branch has 75,000 customers. Now, do you think that for me, if I want to complete the audit on time, do you think I can check for the 75,000 customers each day, 12 months, to find all minimum balance charge has been taken or not? Do you think it's possible? So do you think that in my audit, I will have to rely on the effectiveness of internal control? Do you think I have to rely on effectiveness of internal control? Is this internal control important to the audit? Do you think these charges are important? Is this control important? Why? Why is this important? Because it's a revenue item. Yes or no? So this is what it is trying to say. Auditor's assessment of risk at assertion level includes an expectation that controls are effectively operating, which means auditor intends to rely on the operative effectiveness to decide nature, timing, and extent. So if the operating system is very, very good in the bank, if operating system is very, very good and very effective, do I have to create a big sample of vouching or a small sample of vouching? If the operating effectiveness I am relying on it, it's very good, then my sampling will be very, very small. Very good, Sumit. So you understood what is the first point trying to say? Substantive procedures alone are not enough. Do you think by checking just the sample, by checking just sample and doing substantive procedure, can I finish the job? I can't. So do I have to rely on internal control effectiveness? Yes. So आपका काम ही ऐसा है कि आप सिर्फ वाउचिंग पर रिलाई नहीं कर सकते. Your work demands that you have to analyze the internal control. So in that situation, auditor will test the operating effectiveness of the control. So there are two situations in which you have to test the effectiveness: when the auditor wants to rely on that effectiveness and when the substantive procedures alone are not enough. When does auditor have to rely on internal control? When does auditor have to do internal control verification? When auditor wants to rely on the effectiveness of control and when substantive procedure is not enough. Can you connect the answer now? Next. In designing and performing test of control, the auditor shall perform more persuasive audit evidence, the greater the reliance the auditor places on the effectiveness of the control. Okay. And last, a higher level of assurance may be sought after operating effectiveness when the approach adopted consists of test of controls, in particular where it is not possible or practical to obtain sufficient audit evidence only from substantive procedure. So where it is not possible to obtain all the evidence from substantive procedure, then you have to rely and change your approach on checking the effectiveness of control. So ये सब same बात बोल रहे हैं. इतना आप लिख दोगे तो आप बाकी का भी आप लिख सकोगे. So this is all same things. If you can write that much, you can write the next part also. Next answer. We'll take a 10 minutes break here, Ashok ji. Technical team. अभी 7:20 हुआ है, so we can come back at 7:30. Okay. We are also back, ma'am. Good, Mehak. Good. Let's go with the next question. KR and Associates, an auditor of FDP Limited, observed that the company has implemented various internal controls addressing financial reporting, operating efficiency, compliances during their preliminary evaluation. Good. Company में financial reporting internal control is there, operating के लिए internal control is there, compliance related internal control is also there. Good. That's a good thing. Next, what's the problem? CA Karan suggests that all controls should be assessed to mitigate the risk of material misstatement in the financial statements, while Rajat is of the view that only those controls that are relevant to the audit should be assessed based on the professional judgment. Comment whether the auditor should assess all internal controls or limit the assessment to only those considered relevant by the auditor during the audit. Also discuss the factors influencing the auditor's judgment on the relevance of the control. First, tell me the first point. Should auditor assess all internal control or limit it to the relevant controls only? Only relevant. Very good. So let's say if I am auditor of Indigo, है ना? So if I'm auditor of the Indigo, my controls regarding HR, किसको promotion मिल रहा है, किसको कैसे promotion मिलेगा, कौन सी exam लिखी जाएगी, which exam needs to be given to get the promotion. Do you think it's in my priority area to check those controls? Do you think it's in my priority area? No. So that is why all controls are not relevant for an auditor. So very simple, there is a direct relationship between an entity's objectives and the controls it implements. FD Limited has implemented internal controls regarding everything. This is same from the question. However, not all controls are relevant to auditors' risk assessment. Factors relevant to auditor's judgment about whether a control individually or combination is relevant may include the matters. It's actually direct, but this part and this part you have to understand and analyze on your own. But this is clearly given. What it says, which factors affect an auditor's judgment about whether a control is important for me? Firstly, is it material? What kind of risk it has? What kind of size of entity is there? What kind of nature of business they are running? What kind of diversity and complexity is there? What kind of laws are applicable on this entity? What are the different circumstances and different internal controls? In check this internal control system ka complexity. What is this? This is entity operations complexity. And here we are seeing the complexity of the systems that are part of internal control. And whether a specific control can prevent, detect, or correct the misstatement. So whether I have to check or pay attention to some internal control, it depends on. Ma'am, is this question like significant factors? You can get confused, but no. That question was asking how do you decide which risk is significant risk? And this one is asking that how does an auditor take a judgment whether a control system is relevant for my audit for me to pay attention and time to it? Do you understand, Mehak? So how do I decide whether that control individually or in this thing is relevant to my audit? Relevant word dekhna, theek hai? Whether a control is relevant for audit. Remember the Indigo example, not all controls are relevant. So which controls are relevant for me? I have to see what is the nature of business. So business related points dekho. First, business related points. What is the nature of business? What is the size of the entity? What kind of transactions they do, diversity and complexity? Is business pay what legal and regulatory requirements are applicable? Then you see transactions and controls related point. Transaction and control. So you have to see what is the what kind of risks are there what kind of materiality is there of the risk. Then you have to see what kind of systems are there in the entity, how complex are these systems, and whether these systems prevent, detect, and correct the control, correct the risk. Again, I'm telling you, thoda tricky hai, but you can remember. So grouping method we have to use. How do I decide which factors are relevant? We have to divide into two types. We have to decide whether an internal control is relevant to me as an auditor on two main things. It depends on the business and it depends on the transactions and control. Business ke kya factors, what all factors, what is the nature of your business, what is the size, what kind of diverse and complex transactions you do, what are the different legal and regulatory requirements. Then on the basis of transactions, what are the different risks in your entity, what kind of materialities is there, to address this risk, what kind of system you have, how complex is this system, and how much work this system is doing. After understanding all this, I can take a judgment that which factor I'll take into consideration, which factor I'll not. Can you remember which trick have I used in this? Which method of mine I have used in this? Grouping method. Okay. So instead of remembering like 10, 11 points separately, remember them in two main parts, business and transaction. Okay, yaad reh sakta hai? Can you remember it? Okay, next. In the given case, CA Karan suggests that all controls should be assessed to mitigate risk, while CA Rajat is saying only those controls deemed. So this is repetition from the question. Based on the factors above, it can be concluded that auditors should assess only those controls that are deemed to relevant to mitigate the risk of material misstatement. Okay. Completed. Next question. Next question, everyone. CDE Private Limited, a manufacturing company, has made an investment in shares of some blue chip companies. Additionally, it had temporarily deposited some of its extra funds in fixed deposits with a proper band. Good. Dividends from shares amounting to 1.8 lakh net of TDS. TDS is 0.2, which means dividend was actually how much? 2 lakhs. And bank interest 2.7 lakhs net of TDS, TDS 0.3. So interest was actually 3 lakhs, which credited in the bank account of the company. During the year 23-24, it has also sold some shares, resulting net gain of 5 lakhs. So 5 lakhs share income, sale of shares. The company has shown all the above income under the head other income with a consolidated amount of 9.5 lakhs in P&L. No other information is furnished in the financial statements that have been put up for audit. As the auditor discuss the above situation about what constitutes misstatement, give a few examples. So, what kind of question is this, my dear students? What kind of question is this? Is it easy? Is it hard? First, tell me one by one. First, tell me, in books of accounts, do you record your income net of TDS or gross? It should be gross amount or the net amount. यहाँ पे you have to remember your DT, AS. This knowledge is being applied here. This is a fully application-based question with some theory. Theory is also there from the book. But to be able to reach that theory, you need to understand and analyze. Only Pooja has replied. Everyone else is confused. You studied AS 13. AS 13 padha hai? Have you studied it? No. Anything? So income from investments. Yes. So firstly, let me make it clear. I didn't get a reply from all of you. You were all quiet in my first question. Now, second question you have replied, which means you're not sure. When we're showing in our P&L balance sheet, if I'm getting rent from someone, okay, मेरा rent 50,000 per month है, वो they are deducting TDS of 5,000 and paying me 45,000. Is my income 50,000? Is my income 45,000 for ITR? Income tax की अगर मैं return भर रही हूँ, what do you think is my income? What is my income? 50,000 rupees or 45,000 rupees? 50,000. 5,000 is tax. Yes or no? Which means I'll calculate my income tax as per 50,000 income. Suppose my tax comes XYZ amount. I will minus the tax I have already paid. Same way, apply that logic. Now tell me, do you think it should be net or it should be gross? When you're there showing in P&L account, it should be net or it should be gross. This 9.5 is correct. Is this 9.5 lakhs correct? कितना होता है? 2 plus 3 plus 5 is equal to 10 lakhs. So what should be the income that should be shown? 10 lakhs. Is there a misstatement? Is there a misstatement in the company's P&L? Yes, there is a misstatement. So first, how do you explain? So you have to tell how this is wrong. Then you have to mention the definition of misstatement. Then you have to give examples of misstatement. So this is there in the book. This is fully analysis. This you have to use your income tax and AS knowledge. And this both you will get from audit. So here to write this answer, you should have audit knowledge plus tax knowledge plus AS knowledge. Do you understand? This is a small synopsis of how the real life of an auditor is. Because when you go for audit, you should have knowledge of everything. Then you are a good auditor. Because then only you can apply knowledge. So answer is very straightforward. Misstatement refers to any difference between what is and what should be. Do you remember? During LVC, I told you what is and what should be, which means the actual, what it should be, what is reported and what is required. So difference between amount, classification, presentation and disclosure, and the amount classification that is required, that is misstatement. In the given situation, the company should have recorded gross amount 2 lakhs, 3 lakhs as per AS 13. See, AS 13 is mentioned here. And other income should have been 10 lakhs. That is why 9.5 is not correct. Further, as per Schedule 3, so Companies Act knowledge, okay? Other income should be classified as interest income of 3 lakhs, 2 lakhs, and 5 lakhs separately. Pooja, I didn't understand what you're saying. ACPD, not ABCD? Few examples of misstatement. Charging an item of capital expenditure to revenue. Difference in disclosure as per the applicable reporting framework. Selection or application of wrong accounting policies. Intentional booking of fake expenses. Overstating data by not writing off irrecoverable debts. Difference in accounting estimates. So these are some examples that have been given. You can remember 3, 4 at least. So when you give wrong disclosure or wrong presentation and classification of capital revenue, wrong disclosure, wrong inappropriate accounting policies, all this is the answer here. So this is like a very, very, very good example. Like a very good example, okay? Next, question number 10. CAI, statutory auditor of a company, is in the process of determining the materiality for financial statements while planning an audit. Since materiality is a matter of professional judgment that is affected by auditor's perception of financial information needs of users, he is reasonably making certain assumptions about the users. Which reasonable matters are likely to be assumed by him with respect to users? Direct question. Very good, Mehak. This is like straight from your book that Sari Zimmedari, all the responsibility is not just the auditor. If Mehak, Pooja are using the financial statements to make decisions about investments in a company, then they also have certain responsibilities. So when I am an auditor and I am making an audit report, I am assuming that people who are going to read those audit reports have some curiosity, have some understanding. They understand what auditing means. They understand the nature of financial reporting. So that is the answer. So the auditor's determination of materiality is a matter of professional judgment, etc. It is reasonable for CAY to assume that the users means people who are reading the financial statements, they have reasonable knowledge of business and economic activities and accounting, and they also have willingness to properly study the report. They have willingness to study the report. So I am assuming that if Pooja is investing 2 lakh rupees on the basis of my audit report, it means she has basic knowledge about what the company is doing, what kind of economic activities it's doing, the history of the company, and they are ready to study the whole report, even if it's a 100-page report. That they understand that financial statements are prepared, presented, and audited as per the materiality. They know that audit is not a guarantee, and everything in audit and accounting is done as per the materiality. Then they recognize that certain uncertainties are always inherent whenever estimates and judgments are being used with respect to future events. So I am assuming that Mehak and Pooja know that I cannot control the future. There will be always something that is uncertain. And they are people of sound mind who are making reasonable economic decisions on the basis of information. ऐसा नहीं कि मेरी राशि के हिसाब से अभी मैं क शब्द का शेयर खरीदूंगी तो बहुत बढ़िया रहेगा, है ना? According to astrology, I should buy K related. No, you are making these economic decisions on reasonable basis by studying the financial information. Okay. So these are the assumptions that auditor has about the user. So what assumptions? Reasonable. Remember what all reasonableness is needed. So the auditor is assuming that you have reasonable knowledge of business, you have reasonable knowledge of economic activities, you have knowledge about accounting, you have reasonable willingness to study, you have reasonable decision-making power. So some reasonableness he is expecting. Next, he is expecting some understanding that you know that it is based on materiality and you understand that future events are not in anyone's control. Next question. While planning the audit of ME Limited, CAM has planned nature, timing, and extent of risk assessment procedures to identify and assess risk of material misstatement. How should risk be assessed? How should risk be assessed by CAM? It is also well known that assessment of risk is a matter of professional judgment. Which specific matters are not to be included in audit risk? CAK, one of team members, is of the view that materiality and audit risk are only considered at planning stage. First, let's do yes or no. Last se shuru karte hain. We'll start with the last. Do you think materiality and audit risk is only considered at planning stage? Can I not change it during, in between of execution? So this is wrong. What is not included in audit risk? Does the personal, if I am running an audit firm, my personal business risk and all is included in audit risk? That my firm will close, I will lose my degree, there will be some action against me, some partner will die. Is that audit risk? Is that covered in audit risk? Audit firm's personal risks? Yes or no? Only one person has replied. Others, no, they are not considered audit risk. Okay, so if you see this, very structurally answer is given. Very good, Krish. So that is audit risk, what Krish has said. Risk of giving a modified opinion when financial statements are not materially misstated. That is the risk that is not included. The risk that is included is risk of giving a non-modified opinion when the opinion should have been modified. So the assessment of risk is based on audit procedures to obtain information necessary for the purpose of evidence. It is a matter of professional judgment rather than precise measurement. Audit risk is a technical term regarding process of auditing. It does not refer to auditor's business risk like litigation, adverse publicity, or events regarding audit. For the purpose of standards of audit risk also does not include the risk that auditor might express an opinion that the financial statement are misstated when they are not. This is what Krish said. Very good, Krish. So two things are not included in audit risk: auditor's personal business risk and the risk that the risk of giving a modified opinion when the financial statements are not materially misstated. In the given case, ICAI is of the view that materiality and audit risk are only considered at planning stage. The concept of materiality is applied by auditor both at planning and performing the audit and evaluation. Hence, the view of the ICAI is not correct. Finished. Next. CA while inspecting the financial statements of a company, notices that the gross profit ratio of the company has increased from 14% to 24%. She has assessed the risk of material misstatement to be very high with respect to assertions relating to revenue and expenses. CA wants to know few possible reasons which could have led to abnormal jump in gross profit ratio. During the discussion amongst team members, her junior Miss Tisha expressed her view that detection risk in this engagement should be kept at very high level. List out possible reasons which could lead to abnormal jump. अब ये बताओ, direct या indirect या drafting? You guys tell me without looking at answer. You don't have the answer. What are the reasons because of which there can be abnormal jump between gross profit? एक line में one small word you can send in the chat. Increasing advertising, okay. I'm talking about non-proper methods. Means कुछ गड़बड़ हो गया अगर. So if you suspect that there is something problematic, there all is the scope of doing manipulation because of which the gross profit can rise from 14% to 24%. ऐसे सोचना है answer. So I'll show you. In the given case, risk of material misstatement has been assessed as high with respect to revenue from direct and various expenses due to increase in gross profit ratio from 14 to 24. Possible reasons for abnormal jump. Normal is not given. Abnormal means you're suspecting. It could be overvaluation of inventories, overstatement of revenues, understatement of direct expenses. So it means when I am approaching and I'm seeing, which means I'll focus on three areas. कहीं inventories में कुछ ज़्यादा तो नहीं लिख दिया, कहीं revenue में कुछ extra bills तो नहीं add कर दिए, कहीं expenses में कुछ bill गायब तो नहीं कर दिए. Again in English. So what I will think, there is a gross profit ratio increase from 14 to 24. Does it mean that some inventories they have added that they shouldn't have? Or maybe revenue, they have shown more than they shouldn't have. And expenses, they have understated. So you can remember it like this. How do you approach a question like this? What is given? Gross profit has increased. So if it's a manufacturing account, your sales will be there. Your opening stock, closing stock, expenses. So what can affect the gross profit? What can affect? Sales can affect, stock can affect, expenses can affect. So if you understand this, which means gross profit can be affected by these three things only. Yes or no? If you remember, if you create a visual in your mind about manufacturing account, it's not net profit. So mostly it will be affected by these three things only. Sales means revenue, stock, and expenses. क्या लिख दिया यहाँ पे? What has been written? That the reasons for abnormal jump in gross profit is inventory, revenue, indirect. Or it has increased, na? which means inventory and revenue is high and expenses is low. Now you understand how to approach a practical question. Create a visual in your mind. Step by step mind में process करो. Okay? Step by step process. Then what is the second question? Tisha is saying that detection risk in this engagement should be kept at very high level. Before I say that, can anyone tell me audit risk में क्या क्या include होता है? What all is included in audit risk? Quickly, in less than 10 seconds, I want the answer. Less than 10 seconds, I want the answer. Audit risk में which all risks are included? Very good, Krish. ROMM into DR. What is included in ROMM? Very good, Gar. Inherent risk and inherent risk and control risk. Then this is ROMM. So total audit risks becomes inherent risk, control risk, and detection risk. This much you remember? Okay, good. Now what is the question? Tisha expressed that detection risk in this engagement should be kept at a high level. Do you agree? Provide reasons. Do you guys have any answer for this? Detection risk, when it should be high, when it can be high, when the inherent risk and control risk is low, then only detection risk can be high. If in this engagement you already know that there is a high possibility of some problem, then do you think detection risk you can keep high? Do you think you can keep detection risk as very high? No, because you already know that other things are high. So ROMM and detection risk have an inverse relationship. If ROMM is very high, then detection risk needs to be low. Okay, that's it. So overall objectives of independent auditor and conduct of audit as per standards of auditing. Detection risk is the risk that procedures performed by the auditor to reduce risk to an acceptably low level will not detect a misstatement that exists, could be material, etc., etc. This is definition from the book. Tisha is of the view that detection risk in this engagement should be kept at high level, where in the given situation, the risk of material misstatement is already high. Therefore, the detection risk has to be kept low. Hence, the view of Ms. Tisha is not proper. Very, very simple. Okay. So remember this equation, you can remember the whole answer. Next. While conducting the audit of Xena Limited, CAE is trying to obtain understanding of different components of internal control of the company. Such an understanding is necessary and is required to be documented as per standards of auditing. In this context, how shall he obtain understanding of the risk assessment process of the company, and how is this understanding important for the auditor? So this again, this is a question that students sometimes miss out on. Whenever you are reading book also, sometimes you can miss this answer. So I want to do this thoroughly with you so that you remember it. It's quite easy. So if the auditor wants to obtain an understanding of the entity, I'll just tell you this way. If you want to understand the entity's process, you have to see how do they identify the risk? Then how do you estimate the significance of risk? ठीक है, risk मिला है, I have found a risk, but is this risk significant? Okay, this risk is very significant, but what are the chances of it? Means likelihood. Okay, so let's say I develop real estate in Japan. So what is the business risk if I develop real estate in Japan? What is the most common thing we know about it? It is prone to earthquakes, yes or no? So is the earthquake a business risk if I develop real estate in Japan? Yes. Is this earthquake risk a very significant risk? Can it cause a very large damage to the company? Can this risk cause a very large damage to the company? So it is significant? Yes. What are the likelihood? Which means, is there a risk of 10% chance that earthquake will happen? Is there a 50% chance that earthquake will happen? Is there once in 5 years chance? So that is called as chances, likelihood. How did you address those risks? What can we do to address this risk? This earthquake risk is there. What can I do to address this risk to reduce it? If you're a good business person, you'll know. Very good. Garv has given the correct answer, insurance. So, if you're running a business, there is 4 steps you do with respect to risk. What is the question? Risk assessment process of the company. So if Garv is running a real estate construction company who makes real estate properties in Japan, first Garv will identify what are the business risks. He identified earthquake. He will say how significant it is. Oh, it's very significant. If one earthquake comes, I'll lose 100 crores. What are the chances? It may happen once in 10 years, once in 5 years, or once in 2 years. Address the risk. How is Garv addressing the risk? By taking a good insurance policy. Now, do you understand? This is called as company's risk assessment process. So, the entity has a process for identifying the risk, estimating the significance, assessing the likelihood, and deciding the actions to address those risks. The entity's risk assessment process forms the basis for the risk to be managed. If that process is appropriate, it would assist the auditor to identify risk of material misstatement. Risk can arise or change due to factors such as new technology, new business model, products, changes in operating environment. Whether the entity's risk assessment is appropriate to circumstances is a matter of judgment. So you have to take decision that whether this risk is relevant for my work or not. Next. During the audit of Apex Limited, the auditor plans to place reliance on internal controls related to revenue recognition process, which appears to be well designed as of now. However, due to materiality of revenue and inherent risk of overstatement, the auditor concludes that he wants more persuasive evidence regarding effectiveness of control. Discuss the matters that the auditor will consider in determining the extent. Now, this answer I have already taught you. Can you tell me which answer this is? इसका एक flow भी I told you. इसका एक examples and all I told you. Let me see who can see. You have book in your hand. So you have to be honest to yourself that without looking in the book, try to write this answer. Try to type this answer one point. Use the keywords. Use at least keywords. How does the auditor decide कि कितना हद तक control check करना है? Yes, Garv. Frequency, extent of checking of other controls. Very good, Pooja. If the expected rate of deviation is high, will I check more or less? Will my extent of checking be increased or decreased if the expected rate of deviation is more? Very good. Do you remember now? Okay. So this answer is done. I am not repeating. You can see same point. But different way of asking. Okay. Next. In an automated environment, general IT controls are policies and procedures that relate to many applications and support the effective functioning of application controls. It includes access security as well as program change. What are the objectives and activities included in access security and program change? What does this mean? So in any automated environment, which means I'll take example of bank only. Okay, so bank has a very, very good IT-based system. So banks में काफी कुछ automated है. Many things are automated. Means system automatically does the process. Okay. Paying interest quarterly, charging interest from you on the basis of loans, or check return charges, or check return charges may be manual also. But what is that? Low balance charges, okay, minimum balance charge, all these are automated. So in an automated environment, the bank will have general IT control. General IT control and application control, which means if Pooja is an employee of the bank, she is very smart and she properly maintains her biometric, she properly maintains her password, she never leaves her desk unattended, she properly shuts down the computer so that no one can check her work. She's doing all her work very, very effectively to ensure, so on her system, the work is very good. So she's ensuring that no leakage of data happen. But what if the bank's server and general IT control regarding backup is weak? Is this application control effective? Pooja's system is useful if the general IT control is weak. If the bank does not have a good backup policy, good server storage policy, good password sharing policy, they do not have good antivirus policy, then even though Pooja is doing a very good job with respect to her computer, or the computer is of Mac, very high quality, or Lenovo high quality, is it of any use? No. So in an automated environment, before we check whether each application is good or each software is good, we have to check whether the overall environment is good. If this is good, इसके अंदर फिर आप 10 application run कर लो, everything will be protected. But if each application has different level and this is weak, then all these 10 applications are not protected. Okay, that is called as general IT control. So this is again a very straightforward book question only. So what it says, access security. The above objective of access security is to ensure that access to programs and data is properly authenticated and authorized. What are the activities? So if you want to check access security, this is a general IT control, okay? Access security. So let's say this bank is there. 1 second, students. Just give me 1 second. My Apple Pencil has suddenly stopped working. You know what risk this is? It's 100% charged. The iPad is, no, this is 100% charged. iPad is also 100% charged. Laptop is 100% charged. Wi-Fi is working perfectly. What risk is this? Inherent risk. You can do everything right. Can you see percentage charged? So it's charged also. I don't know why. It's come back. So I think it took a 10-second break. Okay. Yeah, it's back. It's back. I don't know why it stopped working for 5 seconds. So access security, it talks about that if you are running a bank, and in bank there can be multiple softwares. Okay, there could be audit software. There could be something called as Pinnacle, which is CBS software. Then there are some ERMS portal, EDD portal. Then there is customer complaint portal. There are many, many different applications that are run. In bank, there should be a general policy regarding access. What is access security? Means not individual application, but a general policy that who can access which software, What security guidelines will be there? How frequently the password can be changed? Who can modify? Who can see? That is called as access security. So this is given in the book clearly. So at bank level, you imagine there should be a proper security organization and management. There should be proper policies and procedures. There should be proper application, means individual application security. There should be data security, that the data of the customers does not leak. There should be operating system security. So how does it mean? It means, let's say you talk about WhatsApp and your phone is Android. In WhatsApp, you have chats. So this chat is data. This should also be secure. WhatsApp should also be secure. And Android should also be secure. So data security, application security, operating system security. Now, ये सब we are running on Wi-Fi. Sometimes have you seen? Don't trust this Wi-Fi. It can steal your data. Sometimes if you connect public Wi-Fi, people warn you that don't use it. Why? This is called as network security. You must have heard about VPN and all. So people say that if you use VPN, you are bypassing certain securities and you can be at high risk. So network security. And what is physical security? It means that my chats are there, my WhatsApp is there, my Android is there. This is operating system, this is application. But where am I using all this? On my physical phone, yes or no? On my physical phone. So if I drop this in water, so which kind of security I need then? Physical security, IP rating अच्छी होगी मेरे phone की. If the IP rating is good, will water damage it? If IP rating is good, no. So that is physical security. So imagine at a bank level, the security are controlled at such big levels, which means first your phone should be secure. That is physical security. Then the Wi-Fi you use on your phone should be secure. That is network security. Using that Wi-Fi, you are running your Android. That operating system should be secure. Using on that operating system, you're downloading WhatsApp. That application should be secure. In WhatsApp, you are exchanging chats. Your data should be secure. And to keep all of this secure, you should have proper security policy. You should have proper procedure. You should have proper management. Can you remember the answer now? Okay. So this is how application security is maintained. Program change. The objective of program change is to ensure that modified system continues to meet financial reporting objectives. It means change in some management, recording, managing, tracking. All of this should be properly maintained. So if I am working in a bank and they have changed the software, it means the new software should also continue to achieve the objectives that are required for the company. So the company should have proper control system that अगर हम program बदलेंगे तो उसके क्या rules हम follow करेंगे. Okay, that's it. Next. Question number 16. Auditor of EFG Limited, a company engaged in tours and travel business, needs to obtain an understanding of the company's control environment. To do this, the auditor evaluates management has created and maintained a culture of honesty and ethical behavior. The strengths in control environment provide foundation for other control elements. What is included in control environment? Explain the elements of control environment. So this I've just written, read the complete from the book. It's a little long answer. So I'll just quickly show you. It's type 1 question only. Very, very type 1 question. So if you remember, I told you that if the company wants to have a good internal control structure, they should have good and ethical management. So that part you have to write as it is. So just quickly see this. This whole part you have to write this, what is included, and elements of control. So all these points will come in elements of control. Okay. So I will not explain in detail because this is mostly revision. So I'll just quickly revise for you. Control environment, some keywords. Management has to maintain culture of honesty and ethics. The strengths create a good foundation for the other components. So if this is weak, other components are also weak. What is included in controlled environment? Good governance and good management means TCWG and management. Attitude, awareness, and action, AAA. Attitude, awareness, and action of TCWG and management and control environment sets the tone of an organization, influencing the control consciousness of the people. What are the elements of control environment? Communication and enforcement of integrity and values, commitment to competence, participation of those charged with governance, management's philosophy and operating style, organizational structure, assignment of responsibility, and human resource policy. So for this, I created a small this thing for you. Yeah, this is how you remember. I created this flowchart for you. So how do you remember elements? Organization structure, TCWG, management's authority and responsibility, and HR will check for competence, integrity, and ethical values. So if you remember this flowchart, you can remember all the points. Elements, organization structure, TCWG, involvement, management authority and responsibility, HR, competent, integrity, and ethical values. So please remember this and your answer will be done. Next. One second, students. Okay. Next. Companies are increasingly using data analytics for managing their operations. Auditors can also obtain good results by using data analytics. What are the tools and techniques used by auditors in applying the principles of data analytics, and in which areas data analytics can be used? So anyone can give me even one example of this? What is the word for? Yes, Garv. Garv has already given answer. Very good. This is CAT. Computer assisted audit techniques. So what are the tools and techniques used by auditors? It's called as computer assisted audit techniques. Which areas the analytics can be used? This is also a direct question, type 1 question. It's given directly in the book. So where all you can use it for audit samples. You can use it to select audit samples. You can use computer data analysis to check some mathematical calculations. You can do analysis of journal entries. You can check control deficiencies. All these points you can do by using data analysis. So the tools and techniques that auditor use is called as computer assisted auditing techniques. Data analytics can be used to test electronic records and data in IT system using spreadsheets. Spreadsheet is your Excel sheet. Other specialized tools like IDEA and ACL. So IDEA and ACL are audit softwares wherein, so there is like a full structure. If you import your client's sales in it, and if you give instruction that create aging of sales for me, or find sample of 1,000 sales out of 20,000 sales, all this softwares can perform those functions. But if you don't want to purchase a specific audit software for that, you can simply use your Excel sheet. So what all can you do? You can check the completeness of data. You can find audit samples through these tools. You can do the computation of balances. You can check mathematical calculations. You can do general analysis. You can check evaluation of control efficiencies. All of these points can be done. Next. Okay, this you have to do. It's a objective type question. Mention the types of control in an automated environment. That is General IT control, application control. What is the third one that I have not told you yet? Can anyone tell me? Three types of controls are there in control environment. One is general IT control. Another is application. What is the third? Can anyone tell the third control? Not access control. Access control is inside general control. Yes, correct. Krish, IT dependent controls. So you just have to write these three types. Now tell me this. Access controls comes under which? Access controls comes under which? Quickly batao. Access is general IT control. Sequence number check. Sequence number check. Specifically आप sequence check करो कि एक के बाद दो आया, दो के बाद तीन आया. Where does it come? Application. It's not general. A proper data center and good network operation. Which control is it? General or application? Very good. General. मैंडेटरी डेटा फील्ड. किसी भी सॉफ्टवेयर में जीएसटी भरना है या उस पर स्टार मार्क करना है, दैट इज जनरल और एप्लीकेशन? That's it. This is the answer. Very easy, very scoring if you have understanding. That is why in audit you need understanding also, you need memorization also. दोनों चीज जरूरी है, एक चीज नहीं. Next. Spare Parts Limited received an input from the internal auditors that internal controls implemented by the company appear to be reasonable, but not so strong that any fraudulent activity can be prevented or timely detected. So, company is being told by their internal auditors what is the problem with their controls. Okay. Accordingly, a qualified person should head the internal controls department. CA Raj has been appointed as internal control head. So here we are statutory auditors or internal auditors. What is our role as CA Raj? Are we internal auditor or statutory auditors? Are we internal auditor or external? We are internal. Okay. His scope of work includes development of internal controls in various departments. On his joining, he studied various verticals, and after identifying the important areas that are prone to fraud, he implemented strong controls in those areas. In his meeting with senior management and statutory auditor, he assured that satisfactory control environment exists and fraud cannot happen. Whether existence of a satisfactory control can be an absolute deterrent for fraud, is it possible? कि बढ़िया internal control है तो fraud होगा ही नहीं. If the internal control system is excellent, no fraud will happen. So is this correct? No. How do you prove it? Okay. How do you prove it? So you can pick up certain points from inherent limitations, but it is not talking about internal control. So here is where the students make mistake. So both side students go and write the answer inherent limitations of internal control. But this will be wrong. What is it saying? It's not saying that internal control is the best. It's saying if the control environment is satisfactory, then frauds cannot happen. So is the question asking for inherent limitations of internal control? Someone wrote inherent also in the chat box. Is that correct? No, you'll get 0. You have to tell from the perspective of control environment topic. And in control environment, there is no point wala answer for this. It means this is which answer? Type 1, type 2 or type 3? Is this a direct? No, little bit drafting question this is. So, existence of a satisfactory environment is not an absolute deterrent to fraud. The existence of a satisfactory control environment can be a positive factor, although it may help to reduce the risk of fraud. It is not an absolute debtor. Conversely, deficiencies in control environment may undermine the effectiveness of controls. For example, management's failure to commit sufficient resources regarding IT security risk may adversely affect internal control by allowing improper changes to be made in computer programs or unauthorized transactions to be processed. The control environment in itself cannot prevent or detect a material misstatement, but it can help influence the auditor's evaluation of effectiveness of other controls. Yes, this topic is given, Mehak, but you don't have to write exactly. Pura copy paste nahi, okay? For example, the monitoring of controls and operation of specific control activities, thereby the auditor's assessment of risk of mistake. Okay? So here you just have to prove to them that a good control environment can positively influence the internal control, but control environment in itself cannot prevent or detect and correct. Control environment just creates a good environment, and then the individual application and the people running those applications can create a good internal control system. Next, we are doing the last question for today. CAB was the auditor of Star Limited. He wanted to ensure that company had correctly reconciled its bank accounts and also wanted to understand whether and how the internal control system was operating in the company. Okay, how they have reconciled. They wanted to understand how far the internal control was operating. What kind of test of control was B performing? What kind of test of control was B performing? What are the other procedures that can be applied while taking test of control? Okay. Again, I'll repeat. B was the auditor. He wanted to ensure that company has correctly reconciled its bank statement and also wanted to check whether and how far the internal control system was operating. So what kind of test is he doing? Not test of balances. Tell me. Procedures for test of controls. करेक्टली रिकनसाइल हुआ है कि नहीं चेक करना है और इंटरनल कंट्रोल सिस्टम काम कर रहा है कि नहीं ये चेक करना है. तो कैसे चेक करोगे? Re-performance. Students, the answer is re-performance. I don't know what has happened to my, it's sorry, students, yeah. So the process that is being done is called as re-performance. When you want to see whether internal control is doing the job, and then you're doing the reconciliation. So bank reconciliation is one of the most common methods, common thing done through the process of re-performance. And what are the other procedures that can be applied? So let's see this. So this is also given in the book. So first come here, inspection, inquiries, and computerized application you can check. So if you remember in the book, it's clearly given that आपको internal control check करना है तो आप चार चीजें कर सकते हो. You can go and inspect the internal control. You can go and ask about internal control. You can perform re-performance, which means you can put a dummy entry and see how the internal control is processing it. Or you can check the back reconciliation on your own through the system to see how the internal control system is processing it. You can do specified computerized application verification. So this four is the answer: inspection, inquiries, computerized application testing, and re-performance. So after assimilating the internal control system, the auditor needs to examine whether and how far the same is actually in operation. The test of controls are performed to obtain evidence regarding design of accounting and system, operation of the system. In the given case, CAB was performing re-performance. It involves the auditor's independent execution of procedures that were already performed by the entity's internal control system. So something that was already done, I want to do it again. That is called as re-performance. Other procedures are inspection, inquiries, and testing. Okay. Is everyone clear? Of course, there can be endless questions. This chapter is so huge, but I've covered majority of the points here. Is there any question you want to ask? So we have done more than 20 questions today, and in detail, very, very detailed questions we have done. So anyone, any question regarding chapter number 3? So you understand chapter 3 कैसे पढ़ना है? सिर्फ theory पढ़नी है या Q&A practice भी करना है? Is theory enough? Just reading theory again and again and again, not doing Q&A. Both are important. And when you do Q&A, you'll automatically revise theory. Have you seen this? In this, with each question, we were revising theory. Yes or no? So please do Q&A. And Q&A, when you do any kind of revision, only see the question, never see the answer immediately. पहले खुद सोचने की कोशिश करो. Yes, Gar, you need to first do your theory pakka, and then you have to do Q&A, not initially. Otherwise, Q&A of no use if your theory is not strong. That is why we are doing Q&A in LVRC, because in LVC, we are assuming you have studied and then you have at least seen the chapter once or twice, and then you are attending Q&A. Okay. Anything else? I hope you understood the lecture today. I hope you found it useful. I hope it has helped you in some way. Okay. If anyone wants to say something, add something, question something, I'm here. Let me know. Otherwise, we can end the class. Very good, Mehak. That is very important. You have to be honest to yourself. I cannot come and see कि आप बुक में से देखकर बोल रहे हो जब मैं क्वेश्चंस पूछ रही हूँ आप खुद ले रहे हो. तो खुद में ऑनेस्टी रखो कि मुझे अच्छे मार्क्स लाने हैं. तो मैं ऑनेस्टली काम करूंगी. ठीक है? Yes. Please do practice of writing. Writing practice is extremely important. Anyone else? Anything else? Okay. I don't think there is any other question. Technical team, I think we can end the lecture. Hanji, over. Thank you, Ashok ji.